So I'm at one of my apiaries now, doing my first inspections. I'm not really here to do anything to the brood nest, but I do occasionally find one or two colonies that are small. And this one in particular, no bees in it except a tiny bit of brood. Okay, there we are, tiny bit of brood. So I know there's a viable queen. There's eggs as well. So I know there's a queen here somewhere. So what I've done is I've found the queen and she's there under the pushing cage. So I've just put her there temporarily so that what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a load of bees and add a whole box of bees to this queen. Now it's a risk, but it will use some of the resources in this colony. There's the queen at the top corner there. Well, about 2 inches by 2 inches down. She's not very big. She's not in laying condition. She's small. Don't know if you can see that. But she's there. I found her. There's a few bees in the bottom. But what I'm doing is I'm doing a little trick I learned. And basically I'm going to be protecting the queen. She'll be under another pushing cage, probably that one. But I'll put her under a pushing cage and I'll fill this box with bees. But it'll be mostly nurse bees because as I make this nuke, it's going to be technically a nuke, but it's going to be a nuke with a laying queen that will become a laying queen again. I will put that queen under a pushing cage on emerging brood that I find in these colonies. So I've just taken the lids off. I've got some super colonies here. All these are really strong and they can be reduced a bit. It will dampen them down a bit. Look at this, full. Just what you need to do now. So I'm going to be adding, it'll take a little while, but I'm here anyway and I've got a queen. So I might just as well try. And this is the little things you can do to save this queen. But no, there's a risk that she might not be a very good queen, but the fact she's still laying now is probably confirmation that she's just about okay. So with the lots of nurse bees, they might bring her back into laying condition, and if not, I'll keep this colony going with other frames of brood as the next 2 or 3 weeks progress, and I'll give this colony extra bees if I need to until I can get my own queens. So it's a good gamble. I need to weaken all these colonies anyway a little bit because we're not doing any supering for a while yet. So I'm going to add frames of bees. So you see I've opened up the first hive at the far end. I've taken out a frame. Now I've chosen frames. I'm choosing a frame that hasn't got too much brood on it, but it's also got some open brood. So I know there's nurse bees on this frame, okay? But I want plenty of nurse bees on this frame. I don't want too much brood because I want to build the number of nurse bees in here. But I'm checking incredibly carefully that there's no queen here. Okay, so I'm not wearing any gloves because I want to be a little bit more delicate, and I've got brood here that's nearly all closed, so that's fine. It won't be too long before it starts hatching, but these are mostly nurse bees. Any bees that aren't will fly off, and that's the whole idea. I'm going to give this a collective, and the theory is, well, not the theory, but what happens is the more bees you add, in other words, if you add just one load of bees from one colony, they might kill the queen. If you add more than 2, say 3 different colonies bees, they'll mix together so completely quickly, it's unreal. So you'll have everyone will be confused as to who's who, and then instantly they'll accept the queen. And that's the way I do it. And it's a really good idea to do that. So let's go and find some more. I'm just covering it over, keeping that heat in. While I'm doing this, it's not particularly warm, but it's not cold and windy. We'll be okay for now. So I'm going to put a temporary cover on this just so I can lift it up. I've just used the insulation. Just one of those. That'll do for now. So I've got the first frame in, and there's plenty of bees in there, and I'm going to find a lot more as I go through these colonies, and eventually it'll be virtually a whole colony full of bees. So this is the second frame. What I like about this one, I've got a nice lot of bees in here. This colony I've taken this from is really prolific. There's loads of bees on it, and that's exactly what we want. It's just really carefully using your resources. I'm just so careful here not to put another queen into this box. So I desperately do not want to do that, as you can imagine. And when you mix more than 3 loads of bees together, it's absolutely fine. Keep it warm. Bees will all join it. Top back on. So there's the queen. She's got a couple of bees under the cage with her, but they're only nurse bees I know. And they're also probably bees from the original frame she was on, so that's fine. But she's now under there. This brood is emerging brood. There's loads of stores, there's nectar right in the nest where she needs, so she can feed on that. So she's going to go into this colony. So the bees can now all group back together. I'll put one more frame of bees in from another colony, and that will just about do this one. And I might do a shake, but I'm just going to keep adding bees till it gets full. Then the whole thing was joined to be one, and those bees will look after her, and she'll come back into lay, and I can release her in, say, 5-6 days time. So I'm just going to do my last shake. I've got this colony right at the end of the row here, and it's so strong. It's absolutely amazing. It's just packed full of nectar. I'm just desperately looking to see if I can see the queen. I don't mind pissing these bees off a little bit because I want any bees to fly, so that all the bees that are remaining are more likely to be nurse bees. If you turn the frame upside down and just rub your hives all over, it does disturb them enough. And they'd reveal the queen as she was here, I hope. But, so I want to get a big blob of bees in here, and I want to see what's going on though. I want to see if she's there. The other way is just to shake it onto a queen excluder, but I haven't got one with me. But this will do. There's no queen in this. So let's shake these in, if I can. You can see it's already got plenty of bees. Last shake. Look at this nectar. It's absolutely pouring in. What that does is it makes the bees all covered in it, and then they all got to lick themselves clean, and then after that they're all basically as one. So it's the best way, really good way to mix a colony. So I've mixed 5 colonies there. Just hope this works. So let's just recap on what we did. I arrived in an apiary to do my first inspections. I found a colony that had very, very few bees in. Just a queen that was, we think, still laying. There was eggs, so she was in laying condition, but only just. And when I said before, she's not really in laying condition. When queens do really lay a lot, they obviously increase in size and their abdomen expands and all that kind of thing. So she does become even stronger. But we identified this box as a near dead out. But we have resources here and here. And at the moment, I don't want to put my honey supers on. I want it to do evening out. So it was the perfect opportunity to make a colony. But we know the risks of making a colony, that the queen may get killed. So what we did, we chose bees from about six colonies that gave me frames of bees and brood, and also shakes as well. And I shook them into the top of the colony as well as put frames of brood in. So I mixed the bees up, and when you mix different colonies up, if it's more than 3, generally they all get completely mixed and they lose their identity briefly. And they didn't have a queen anyway. I made sure there was no queen being shaken in or on those frames. So what I've done is basically instantly made a colony. And yes, so let's talk about the queen. Is it a gamble with her? Yes, it is. But she is protected at the moment under a push-in cage. And the emerging bees that will start to emerge in the next couple of days will only know her. They'll love and care for her, and they'll start to feed her, and she'll come into lay. And then that pheromone she produces of a laying queen will then spread out through the colony and settle it all down. There's no chance of them becoming laying workers yet, because there's plenty of brood to keep those other female bees non-laying. Okay? So the ovaries won't develop, and they won't start making... they won't become aggressive and start making sterile drone cells. Okay, that side of it won't happen for a couple of weeks yet, and that's what you've got to remember. Is the moment I've created a box, there is a queen, and even if I didn't have a queen, if that queen got killed, and even if that queen somehow didn't make it and she got stressed or she died, I'm going to have some queens very soon. I've got some at home. If I'm desperate, I can take one from home and take one from my Mini Plus, but I really want to try and keep those as they are, so they're growing and increasing my resources at home. But I've got queens coming in 3 weeks, and if I didn't get that queen back into lay and accepted in the colony, then I could just give that colony a queen, but I would give it more brood next week as well. So I'm going to come back in 4 or 5 days, lift off the cage and see if she started to lay, and the colony should settle down, because most of the bees that are there are nurse bees. We've got about 16-18 hours now before the bees will start to fly again. Any bees that weren't flying bees will maybe bugger off tomorrow, will go off tomorrow if they do, but they were all covered in nectar. They, as you saw, as I was shaking the frames off, it was a really good thing, because often if you mix in colonies and you spray them with a blackcurrant cordial or a furniture polish or something like that, obviously something that doesn't kill them, but you want them, or you change their odor and it helps them be accepted. But as I said before, when you mix more than 2 or 3 colonies together, generally there is never an issue. So you can make up colonies from a vast amount of bees if you want to overall even out and take out some of the strength of your early spring colonies. And I've got one at the end there, which was like 6 frames of bees and brood plus 4 frames full of honey. And I've actually had to take out some overwintered honey because there's just no room. And I even found a queen cup in there. So that's probably because I know that queen is 2 years old and she's probably thinking of swarming anyway. But that's something I know I've got to watch. But it just shows you what you can do if you have a queen that is ill and you get this time of year where you could do with reducing the resources in your colonies a little bit. So the way we do our honey here is we don't like to really try and harvest honey until the 2nd week of the oilseed rape. And that gives a full 3 weeks then of the flow. And then on the 4th to 5th week, we can harvest it at our leisure and it doesn't crystallize. As you know, oilseed rape and spring honey generally crystallizes very, very quickly. So we've done that, and that's what we always do. But it's this time of year is just inspecting, juggling the colonies a bit, but making what you can with what you have, using your resources wisely. This may not work, but it's a safe bet that I can use those bees as well afterwards, and at the same time I've reduced all my colonies either side of it. So fingers crossed that will be good. Anyway, I hope that is a bit of information for you, because it's fun to do. It's a little bit of work, but you will get a colony out of it. And at the end of the day, that's what I need now, because if I can salvage that colony, that'll give me a split at the end of the flow. If I'm very careful, if not, I'll let it stay really strong and I'll get a split from it at the end of the summer and a summer honey crop. So otherwise I would have had nothing and just a load of frames to clear out. And all these bees have easily given up a bit of resources. That's all you need to do. So I'm back to release this queen from under the pushing cage, and I am the first to admit I have not been back at the right time. I should have been back about 3 or 4 days ago, but with the weather going so cold, I thought I'd just leave it for now and see what happens, because I know unless there's a queen cell outside from underneath the cage, they'll either build that and it still won't be hatched yet, so I'll be able to break that off and check for queen cells generally anyway, which is what you do when you put a queen under a cage, because I've added brood with larvae. And the queen under the cage isn't laying, well, wasn't when I put her under, so often you get queen cells. And the other thing is I'll be able to see if she's laying under the cage before I release her. And it's been so cold, so I'm not really worried. So I'll release this now. I'm going to find this queen under here. I've just had my tripod here and it's just fallen off and smashed, so I'm going to have to get a new one. So, so I can't use the tripod. But let's have a little look in here. So there's the queen under the pushing cage, and look what we have here. You can see how late I've left it. We have queen cells that have already hatched because we had the hot weather last week. So now I have an issue. Now I've got to find, there's a cell that's not been destroyed, which is probably dead anyway, full of raw jelly. They think she's stung for that. So I've got to find the virgin in here now, which creates additional problems, if there is one in here. But there may not be. But if I can find a virgin, she's more than likely going to be on this frame, because often when you get a virgin, she's going to be very close to the queen that is under the cage. This is a really interesting scenario, this. So I'm going to check this frame, see if I can see her. It's not very warm. There's another cell there that was still open. So if there is a virgin running around, she hasn't torn that one down. But we've got a settled colony here that's now going through. So I made this colony up and it's working. So this is good. Even though it's a bit of a disaster because I'm back late, I'm just trying to show you it can be done, and there is no virgin there. So that, just get that frame out of the way for now. Let's have a look at this one. Pretty sure if there's a virgin, she'll be trying to kill this queen, sting her from the cage. Can't see any virgin there. Okay. So, let's look the other side. Okay, let's see what this queen's done under this cage. It says she'd started to lay again. Are the bees aggressive towards her? Well, they are a little bit. There's the queen looking nice and fat. Before I release her though, I'm going to check some other frames to see if we can find a virgin. Don't know if you can see the queen, but these bees aren't that light on the comb, so I'm not entirely sure. But I think she's laying, this queen. There's loads of nurse bees underneath. The problem is if she kills this queen, it's all very well and good, but she might not mate afterwards because the weather's still so poor. Let's put this one down here. Let's have a look at this other frame. See if we can see a virgin. No virgin there, but I wouldn't really expect the virgin to be on there. I'd expect her to be on the first frame I looked at, because often the virgin will be on the frame that she was born on when you're looking for her, and in which case it'll be this frame or a frame further near this nest. So I'm having a look for everything. Often the queen virgins, there's a drone. Often virgins are easy to spot because they are running around in alternate directions to everything else. So if we can spot her, it'll be marvellous. If we don't, we don't. But I just could not get here any sooner this week. It was just impossible. But we'll sort it out. See what's happening on this frame. See if there's a virgin hiding here. I think these are still queenless, because look at them. They're kind of fanning their wings a bit. Let's have a look at the next frame. Check inside the box, check around. It's a little bit cold to be doing this, but this is the end of the colony now, where there's a bit of honey stored. Put this frame on its side out here and see what we can see inside the box still. Let's have a look round, see if we can spot anything. Beekeeping is often about sorting out an issue that is obvious, but you've got to just spend a bit of time looking for the problem. Sometimes the queen can be released from your pushing cage, so they release themselves. I'm just going to look at every frame twice here, just in case I miss something. It's a bit cold, but we've got a bit of sun for a few minutes. I know how these things go, and I know this doesn't look right, but I've got to just check everything now. See if we can see a virgin anywhere here. No, there's nothing here on the frames. She's pretty easy to spot usually. So I haven't found anything in the whole colony, and their wings, the bees are fanning their wings a lot. I'm gonna have to assume that this queen is okay. There's a few dead bees underneath it, but I would expect that. It says she's been laying. See if we can find the queen first. There's the queen. See if there's eggs in the cells. Yes, there is. I don't know if you can see, but there is eggs in the cells. So there she is. There's the queen. She's not marked. I'm going to leave her for now because I don't want to stress her out anymore. Don't want to create any other problems. Let's get her straight in. A little bit cold. So she's been accepted. There's loads of eggs in all the cells there, and I can't see a virgin anywhere. So we're going to have to put her back in and just see what happens. So there she is. Off she goes. Let's put this back together. I can't find anything else sinister in this colony. We're just going to have to assume that she's good and everything's working fine. She's laid underneath the cells. We've created a colony. Just looking here just to check one more time. Nice lot of bees. Cannot see a virgin there. So that's how she is. See how she goes. Good. Let's put this back in. The bees have accepted her. Nice bees. Let's put this back in next to her and leave her get on with what she's got to do. So what presented us as a tiny colony, golf ball size, that probably would have dwindled, has now probably got a good chance. That colony as well, because it had a queen, even though she's under a cage, has also grouped together and joined now, so I can add more brood to it if I need, and more. There's enough bees to cover any brood I add. We've depressurized some strong colonies that I didn't want to add my supers, and boy am I glad I didn't add them, because it's been really cold for the last 5 days now, since we had that amazing spell last week. But it's something I tried because I thought it was worth a go, and it seems to have paid off. I think it's good fun because it keeps you on your toes, and it helps you understand about the processes of the bees and the queen, and how she needs workers, but she needs to come into lay before she's accepted in a colony. If you're introducing she's basically a non-laying queen into bees that had a laying queen. And also, when you get a mix of bees, if you can protect the queen from the other bees initially until they all settle down and they bond, generally you get a much better result. So that queen should go off and lay now, and I'll come and mark her. She'll be easy to find, because don't forget, I'll have to add some more brood to that colony in about a week or so, because even though that queen might start laying, those eggs won't be born for another 21 days at the earliest. So I'll want to add brood to that in about a week, so there's some nurse bees being born. Even though there's very recently been some nurse bees born, I want to add more to get that colony really going, because that will give me honey this summer if I can keep adding some brood to it. So all in all, a good result, worth doing, bit of fun, and I hope you enjoyed that. It will give you an idea of what you can do if you have enough resources. But it all depends on what your own setup is. I sometimes do that, I sometimes don't. If it's going to be cold and the weather's terrible and I haven't got very strong colonies to decompress, I will just probably pinch that queen in the future, unless I get a scenario like we had where the weather was warm, there was loads of bees, and there was loads of strong colonies that were ready to have a bit of brood taken out of. Then you can by all means do it. And I had a pushing cage with me, and it was all fine. So it's another little scenario of what you can do under certain conditions. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, something different, and I'll catch you again soon. Bye for now.